When the All-Star team roster is announced, one of the biggest questions the NBA community and media has is, who's the All-Star snub? And I think this year, the answer is clear. Trae Young in the Eastern Conference should have been an All-Star starter. In this video today, we're going to break down some of his most important plays this season and why he should be an All-Star this season and why the NBA had a huge miss on the ability that he has to impact the game. We're going to highlight some of Trae Young's magical passing ability. In this specific play, he's playing against the Phoenix Suns, and Jusuf Nurkic just kind of switched onto him after Jalen Johnson sets a screen. What you're going to see right here is Jusuf Nurkic is expecting him to kind of either drive around him into the paint or use this screen to help Jalen Johnson and maybe pass it to him. As we play the clip a little more here, what you're going to see is it ends up with Grayson Allen and Jusuf Nurkic kind of being in the same spot, essentially both trying to guard Trae Young because of his ability to make that high arcing three-point shot that's able to make it from long range, kind of like Steph Curry, and probably why he honestly should have made the All-Star team as well. But in this specific clip, he's going to thread this beautiful pass between two defenders, and that's created by the spacing he generates from the three-point line, as well as the fact that he is definitely one of the more elite passers. In fact, in his second year, he was able to average the most assists and the most points in that season when he made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. In this next clip right here, we're going to have Trae Young on the fast break. Now, this is usually a pretty tough scenario for somebody as short as him. He really doesn't have the ability to finish around the rim with somebody already back in a set position in defense to guard him. And if somebody contests Trae Young at the rim, he's really not going to get it over them. He has to rely on drawing fouls or rely on his teammates. Right here, he fakes the shot. And this shot fake is really believable because of Trae Young's incredible range. And I think that's the most important part of this specific play is Drew Eubanks definitely has to bite because of his ability to make those long three-point shots, even when contested. So he has to try and contest. Now this pass right here, you see Trae Young looking not really where he's passing, looking at Jalen Johnson right here. And you see this blur, this cutting Atlanta Hawks player, and the Phoenix Suns player, Devin Booker, really isn't looking whatsoever. But Trae Young notices that there's this huge swath of open space right here and knows if he can kind of thread the ball in between Devin Booker and Drew Eubanks, that there's going to be a clear opening here to kind of thread the ball. And Clint Capella is easily able to get it and dunk it. And that's honestly an incredible pass from somebody like Trae Young. He's making the defense look one way, makes Devin Booker look towards the three-point line, and threads the ball in behind him and gets it to Clint Capella. And that's an amazing dunk in the fast break where shorter players like Trae Young often struggle. Right here, we're going to have a more traditional play by Trae Young, and we're going to have Okongwu kind of set a nice screen right here. He sets a screen onto Josh Okogie, and this kind of creates a little bit of a switch, it seems like. It seems like their plan seems to be to initially have Drew Eubanks kind of help topside and maybe switch later on, but Okongwu's kind of easily able to get into the lane, and this is a great position for him to be in. Trae Young has so much gravity on the court when he's playing because of his elite ability to shoot from well outside, because he's able to make this type of three-point shot if he's wide open, so that causes them to both feel like Trae Young is still a threat and give all of this space up by the rim to Okongwu, which is really important because this allows Trae Young to essentially draw two defenders. Right now, Okogie and Eubanks are both looking at him. They're both staring at him. And right here, Eric Gordon has to be wary of Okongwu because he's going to have to tag him if he essentially comes into the paint and have to make sure that he doesn't get an easy dunk. And Trae Young notices this. And so the counter to this type of play is to kick it out either here or here, as those two are probably the pass. And he ends up making the exact right play, passes it to Bogdanovic, and he makes the easy three. And I think that's an important key element that I think the Hawks have added to their game in a clutch game where they're only up by 7 points at this point with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, that he's able to make that next level read. Okay, Okongwu's not open. Okay, I'm going to pass to the next best defender. Or Okongwu is open, but I know they're going to be rotating and help, so I have to pass it to Bogdanovic and make the easy three-point shot. After all, I mean, you see these guys both cheesing right here. Super happy that Trae Young is, making those types of plays. Probably not so happy, though, that he didn't make the All-Star game. All right, in this next clip, we're going to really feature some of the passing ability and the spacing that Trae Young generates. Right here, once again, you see that Jusuf Nurkic and Devin Booker are both going to be guarding Trae Young. Clint Capella kind of set the screen at the top, and this forces that same type of element that I talked about earlier. Instead of Drew Eubanks in this play, Jusuf Nurkic is going to have to step up, make sure Trae Young's not able to get the three-point shot, and make sure that Devin Booker can kind of come back over and essentially get in front of him while Jusuf Nurkic is also able to tag Clint Capella. Now, this is an amazing play by Trae Young. He essentially tries to look off Jusuf Nurkic in this play and draws him towards Clint Capella. And this makes, I feel like, everybody on the court essentially sleep a little bit, and he's able to get a wide open pass to Bogdanovic. And you see this defender is really in no position to contest this shot. He's basically tried to essentially help in that pick and roll coverage, and he's in no position to actually help on the shot. And so Bogdanovic is easily able to make a quick three on Okogie, and that's a really great kind of opportunity made purely by the amazing ability of Trae Young to pass the ball. And that's a play you definitely don't get from somebody who's not as good of a passer as Trae Young and willing to take the risk. That pass was risky, and maybe it would have been easier to get it to Capella or something shorter, but he took the risky play and was able to get it to Bogdanovic in a clutch situation. In this specific play, I'm just going to highlight quickly the ability of Trae Young spacing. You asked probably, why did they guard him so far away from the three-point line in the earlier play? Why did Drew Eubanks come up here? Why did Jusuf Nurkic feel the need to kind of trap him even before the three-point line? This is the reason why. You see right here, there's 18 seconds left on the shot clock. Trae Young is already taking a shot at least 5 feet behind the three-point line. And Kevin Durant really, he's not going to contest this shot. He feels like, oh, Darius is a normal three-point shooter. I don't have to contest that. But Trae Young isn't no normal shooter, and he's able to make that with consistency, and that really helps him despite his height disadvantage, that he's able to make shots from such distance that it can drag the defense further and further and further away from the basket, which is really important and really helps his assisting game as well as his scoring game. Now in this play, you see Bogdanovic is going to kind of set a screen. He slips it initially, which makes Okogie, it seems like he's just a little bit of a step behind right here when he slips the screen, because Bogdanovic, it seems like, is a step ahead, and Trae Young gets a step on Okogie as well. Okogie is a great defender, though. He tries to say, okay, I'm going to have to split the difference here. I'm already a step behind. I'm going to try to go here and meet him by the free throw line and essentially follow him and maybe compress him so that I can block him at the rim. That seems like the goal. He's clearly lost the battle of staying with him laterally. After all, there's a bunch of space in between them. And Trae Young isn't the fastest guy. He's not known for being the fastest guy, so he thinks maybe I can meet him here. So he basically tries to anticipate where Trae Young is going, thinking that he's going to go to the rim. Eubanks actually covers this nicely, though, and so Trae Young, instead of trying to go all the way to the rim, just stops around the free throw line and gets the best shot out of this situation. And because Okogie was running so fast, he gets up, honestly, a good contest, but not something that Trae Young isn't used to, honestly. With him being so short, most players in the NBA can contest him really well. And with Trae Young's ability to pass to open shooters, create openings for three-point shooters that were traditionally thought as 3-and-D wings like Bogdanovic, and the ability to get his bigs like a Okongwu, Capella involved, and shoot from outside, he's clearly one of the game-changing stars we have. Just because he lives in Atlanta and doesn't have the best record, I think clearly he's one of the all-stars in the Eastern Conference. If we just go back to the list earlier, you see maybe somebody like Paolo Banchero shouldn't be on the All-Star team, and instead somebody like Trae Young, who's an absolute showstopper, playmaker at just 5'11", essentially, should be on the All-Star team. With that in mind, please like, subscribe. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about Trae Young and about who should have made the All-Star team and maybe who your All-Star snub is as well in the comments below. Thank you.